What happens when two dudes get together to discuss living mindfully? That's a great question, because we don't know what will happen either. Raw, uncut, and unapologetic. Welcome to Men Talking Mindfulness with co-hosts John McCaskill and Will Schneider. Each week, we take an authentic dive into how mindfulness continually impacts our lives, deepens our relationships, and allows us to be emotionally alive. Now, on to the show.
Using security as the primary factor on which you base your decisions. You've come from a long line of adventurous and brave humans who conquered a harsh, unforgiving planet and overcame war, famine, and a million other challenges. They didn't do this so you could be secure in your climate-controlled townhome, drinking cinnamon lattes while watching others take risks on television. They did it so you could reach even further and do great things that are characterized by uncertainty and demand courage. Take calculated risks. Reach for what you want out of life. This quote is from today's guest, Nic Gregoriades' sorry, I slaughtered that, inspiring book entitled Align, the Modern Man's Guide to True Health, Wealth, and Fulfillment. And we're going to get into more about that here on today's show. Welcome to the Men Talking Mindfulness show. I'm John McCaskill, coming to you live from Colorado Springs, and I'm joined by my co-host and brother from another mother, Will Schneider in New York City. We're excited to talk to Nic today about all the ways to be better aligned. But before we do that, I'm going to check in. Brother, how are you?
Great to have another episode today, John. Thank you. I'm doing good. I just announced that, in case you're like living under a rock somewhere, today is Earth Day. April 22nd. So get out, give some love to nature, appreciate nature, maybe get out and take a hike, hug a tree. But today is Earth Day, and I think it's, and only announcements as far as hey, if you're loving the show, please leave us a review. Please share it with your people out there. We're growing because we're here to serve you and help you to become more mindful in easy ways and big ways. And it's good to be here, John. I'm really excited to talk to Nic. I really enjoyed his book, Aligned. I read every single word in the book, and I'm really excited to bring him on and hear how he's helping other men become better men through the philosophies he's developed over all this work and training that he's done over many decades. So
yeah, let's bring him
let's
on.
go to the bio. Yeah.
All right. Let's see here, Nic. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Nick? Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, guys.
Pleasure to have you.
Yeah, same.
So Nic is actually a fellow South African. I was born in Cape Town. He was born and raised in Cape Town, South Africa, during the turbulent collapse of apartheid. Nic Gregoriades, how about that? There, I got it. I think I got it right this time, Nic.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect.
Recognized at a young age that there was more to life than promised by the backward, small ideas of his country's government at the time. It was this which first sparked his hunger for wider knowledge and understanding of people, places, viewpoints, modes of living, and himself. And since then, with decades of introspection, study, travel, and practice, and armed with the understanding that the human experience is a gift. I love that part in the book, by the way. Nic has consistently been able to fulfill his potential, dedicated himself and his life to discovering the well-lived life and then sharing them with men who seek to go beyond the frustration, boredom, and powerlessness inherent in the modern world. Nic, welcome again to the show. We're excited to have you on here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And as I said, right before we could record, we start the show off and we finish the show with a grounding practice. Will you do the honors of our opening practice, brother? You're muted.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, we're gonna I was like, I'm gonna hit the on mic button before I speak.
Yeah, I've screwed that up too, man.
I wasn't being mindful, John, but now I am. And and this is why we do this grounding practice, right? So we can be centered, grounded, more focused, and more mindful of what we're doing, what we're saying, and really have a great show. And also it's an opportunity for people just to get in touch with their breath and understand how incredibly profound and impactful the breath can be to just help us to be more present, in the here and now, because it's the only time it ever is. Okay, so with that said, we're just going to take a couple, we're going to do like a double tap breath today. This is a great breathing technique that can just help to wake you up if you're feeling kind of tired, and kind of bring more energy into your body at the same time. Really simple. We're going to take one big inhale. We're going to pause, and then we're going to take, I'll guide us through this as we go through, but just to give you a little roadmap, what we're going to do. So big inhale to start. We're going to take another inhale at the top, right? So 2 inhales, and then take a nice exhale out the mouth, sounding like that, nice and easy. All right, let's go. If you want to close your eyes, great. You can do this while you're driving, mowing the grass, or maybe just sitting still or lying down. We're only going to do 5 or 6 of these. Close the eyes. If you like to make contact with your breath, bring one hand onto your belly, one hand across the top of your chest. If you want to feel and begin to bring yourself a deeper quality of breath, it's great to make contact. Let's start the nice exhale out the mouth. Good. Let's start with that big inhale through the nose. Pause for a second. Take one more little bump inhale. Hold for a moment. And exhale out the mouth. Good. Let's do it again. Inhale really big. Imagine that whole torso is filling like a giant balloon. Pause for a second. Take one little sniff of air through the nose. And then let it go. Good. A few more in. Hold for a moment. Another sniff of air. Exhale. Good. And we'll do 2 more. Big inhale. Hold for a moment. Another inhale. Exhale. Great. And the last one. In. Hold. In. Exhale. And as we're sitting in more of this calm state after that double tap breathing technique, just take a little inventory, a little internal selfie of just how you're feeling. And then what brought you here today? Good. We'll finish with one big breath. Inhale. And good. Let that go out. Nice. Great. We are on the show. Again, Nic, great to have you here. Thanks for joining us. I thought it'd be a great way to start, just giving us a little bit more background on your journey and what kind of led you to Aligned and helping men become better men.
Yeah, well, guys, it's such a pleasure. First of all, I can tell straight away, you guys, we all have the same vibe. I can see you guys are just present and relaxed and happy, and it's wonderful. It's truly wonderful. A little bit about my journey. I guess to distill it to its essence is that I'm someone who has always been very, very curious about the human experience, and also very dedicated to maximizing it. And when those two things combine, I guess it created a recipe for someone who is really searching and also really trying to lead the best life possible. And it's led me down some really interesting roads. It's led me down a career as a martial artist. It's led me down deep introspective practices, including but not limited to meditation and plant medicine. It's led me to a broken heart a couple of times. It's led me to face my fears, or most of them at least. And most importantly, it's also allowed me to have an incredible life, of which I'm truly proud, and which is only getting better all the time.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thanks for that. Let's, one thing, as I was reading your book, Nic, it wasn't until the chapter on courage that you know that I just feel like this is a great place to start this conversation, because without courage to step out of your tribe, without the courage to step into the unknown, like all the other wonderful things you talk about in your book are tough to attain. So let's start with courage. Like, so why is that such an essential element in order for personal transformation?
What a great question. So there's an expression that I heard many years ago, which I think encapsulates it. You're asking why it's important to have courage. And the reason is you need courage because everything you want is on the other side of fear. So you have to find courage to pass through that fear to get what you want. That's as simple as I can make it.
Yeah. And how, go ahead, John, go for it.
Yeah, I love that because we have a saying in the military. I mean, this is not just exclusive to the military, but courage favors the bold, or something to that effect. No, that's wrong. I screwed that up. But it has to do with the bold, or win at life, right? And I remember that particular thing encouraging me to tell my now wife that I had feelings for her. She worked for me at SEAL Team 10 when I was there. And, it was kind of verboten for me to have any kind of relationship with her while she worked for me. But I still felt compelled to tell her that she was inspiring to me, and that I felt something for her. And luckily I did.
You fired her first, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I secretly didn't. We engaged in an Afghanistan romance, actually, overseas, and then came back here, and then opened up to a more open we could share with others once she was no longer working for me. But yeah, it's fortune favors the bold. There it is. Fortune favors the bold. I finally pulled it out. But I wouldn't be married with 3 beautiful children if I hadn't had that courage. And you're exactly right, Nick. That was on the other side of fear, and I was able to come through that fear and tell her. And now here I am living my best life with a beautiful bride and beautiful kids. So yeah, back over to you, Will. Sorry, I just had to make that comment while I was thinking about it.
No, absolutely. I mean, in your book, Nick, I mean, just to take us, you actually have a formula in the book, in order to, I guess, walk us out beyond, the fear and step into our courage and really begin to, I love that you speak in the books. I love to hear about the courage formula, but also this progressive exposure therapy, which is super key in order to really developing more of your courageous muscles. So if you can walk us through a couple of those things for our really for our audience to understand, it's like, this stuff is going to, if you're going to try to transform, you're going to be a better person, be a better man, ask somebody out, like you're going to have to face your fears. And the other side of that fear is a whole nother world of opportunity and a whole new life for you if you're willing to face the dragon of fear.
Yeah. It's such a complex thing, fear, but I guess, it can be simplified in some ways. There's another quote that I'll just throw out before I address it, which is from Terence McKenna. I think I put it in the book as well. Nature loves courage. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's, and I think I mentioned this in the book as well. The reason it loves courage is because courage is a prerequisite of growth, and nature is always growing and developing and evolving. Right. So, as a human being as well, if you want, all healthy living things grow, right? So, and that means all healthy living things need to be expressing courage, because growth inherently, there's an element of uncertainty, like you always have to step out of that comfort zone to grow. And I know for me, every single time I've been at a bifurcation point in my life, when I've chosen to take courageous action, it has led to wonderful things ultimately. And when I've chosen to act out of fear instead and contract, it's bit me in the ass. So I guess to me, it just, based on experience, it just seems like the smart thing to do, right? Like it's just
right.
It works better. My experience is better. And for me, one of the things I said on a recent interview is, I don't care about being right. Like I've very often been wrong in life, and I will continue to be wrong, and I will address it when I am wrong. and I can accept it that I'm wrong sometimes. But what I do care about is getting it right. I just want to get it right. I just want to do what works. And for me, I found being courageous and taking courageous action, it just works. And
Right.
I'll continue to do that until it stops working. Maybe it's going to stop working one day, then I'll adjust, right? But I don't think it will. I think it's an inherent part of the human experience that cannot be overcome.
But it's such a big, an incredible learning experience. Fear, getting courage as well, getting beyond your fears and getting into the unknown. Like that's where, in the quote in the beginning, it's like, trying to be safe and trying to be secure. Where in that life and in that same mindset, like you're just keep reinforcing what you know. Whereas life is in the unknown. In order to step into the unknown, it takes a lot of courage. It takes balls to kind of like pull yourself up and get on the other side of that fear. And it's and also like as far as like being right, I mean, it's like I want to get it right too, but just even being in the game of who's right, typically just keeps us safe and secure instead of like being open. A lot of everything you talked about in this book really takes a tremendous amount of just being open to new possibilities. Right. And if you're not open, then how are you going to really process anything new and also develop new perspectives and also begin to discover more of your potential? And that's what courage has really done for me. It's like believing in myself. And the other reason I really kind of got to this place that I can able to do all the things that I've been doing is because I journal, I meditate, I am willing to go and face my fears. And then step into that unknown, which is crazy, but like that's where I learn. That's where all the education is that can really help me to find more of who this person that I am.
And
when your courage,
before we go any further, we talked about the courage formula there, and Nic's got the courage formula in the book. You must go where the fear is. First part, courage is the reward, and then starting small is key. And that's what we've talked about there. That first step is going where the fear is. But Nic, can you unpack that a little bit more for our audience?
Yeah. So my coach and mentor, who is a truly extraordinary man, he gave me this understanding that fear is the veil, like a thin piece of cloth, right? And he says it's the veil because, like any other veil, when you push into it, it parts, it moves aside, right? Like, unlike a hard door, if you try to push against the door, it's just going to block you, whereas a veil will actually allow you to pass through it. So not only does it part when you take courage, or when you demonstrate courage and you go towards it, it also acts as a veil in that it covers what you want. It obfuscates. I think I'm using that word incorrectly, but it blocks what you want, right? It's like everything you want, you don't even know what it actually is. It's there, but it's hidden behind this veil of fear, and you have to push into it so that veil parts. And you know the story. It's like the kid who's afraid of the monster under his bed. Like when he gets the courage to look under his bed, he realizes it's not even there, right? Or when there's a bull waiting for you that you don't want to open because you're like, damn, I don't want to pay this thing, and then you open it and it's a credit sometimes, or the bull isn't as bad as you thought, or like when you just turn towards it instead of, it's so interesting because I was teaching a jiu-jitsu class a while back, and there's this one move where the guy is trying to strangle you, and you counterintuitively, your instinct would be to turn away to like try to escape this thing, but that actually puts it on tighter. And when you turn towards it, you become invulnerable to it. It like cancels it out, and that really stuck with me. I was like, that's what life is when you turn towards those fears, right? And you take that courageous action. It really works. And I must say, there's a caveat. I was discussing this with a friend many years ago in Thailand. He was the one who put me onto that that quote, "Nature loves courage." But there's another part of it which I remember. I was actually on an acid trip talking to him, having this deep philosophical conversation.
Nice.
And he said, "Nature loves courage." And then I thought about it for a second, and I went, "Yeah, but nature hates stupidity." And we both started laughing. And it's true. Like there's being courage, and then there's just being dumb, right? Like running out in traffic because you're brave it's not a smart move, right? So you've got to like that advice, like I would say temperate, like nature loves intelligent courage or calculated courage, or I'm sure you guys get that.
Yeah, it's Darwin's natural selection, right? I mean, basically, is what we're talking about here.
Yes.
Yeah, and I looked you up online as well, over and above reading this, and there was a great YouTube video where you're at I think it's the Tiger Martial Arts Center in Thailand.
Yeah.
And you talked about how I think a friend of yours had this great quote about knowledge and growth is like being in a cave and having a fire and then adding wood to that fire. And as the fire burns more brightly, you see that the cave is even more and more. And that kind of goes in line with the growth mindset, is always wanting to learn more. And as you learn more, you see that there's even more to learn. Or as you grow more, you see that there's so much more that there is to be done. If you would touch on that, the mindset versus the fixed mindset, or as you referenced in the book, the scarcity mindset versus the abundance mindset.
I think it comes back to that idea that, again, healthy living things grow, right? If it's not growing, it's dying. I mean, I've got a little house plant here and it was dying. The leaves were falling off. They were going yellow and it wasn't getting any bigger. And I researched online, like, what does it mean when this particular plant, when this happens? And I realized the plant wasn't healthy, right? It wasn't getting enough water and it wasn't in the right spot in my house. And so I addressed those things, and now the plant it's growing, like new leaves are sprouting. It's literally growing before my very eyes. And human beings are no different. We're organic living beings on this planet that, I mean, when I say we're no different, that's not accurate, but we have a lot of similarities with plants and vegetation, right? We need nutrients and sunlight and to expand and push out. That's, I think Nietzsche said it. He said, life is a will to power, right? You come here because you want to express yourself. You want to see what you can do. You want to push your boundaries. You want to evolve. You want to get better. Your soul wants to grow. And if you look at people who are not doing that, I've never seen a happy person who isn't growing simultaneously. I've never seen someone who's really like sucking the marrow out of life and enjoying it and living their best life. Someone who's closed off and just like, I've learned enough. I get it. I understand everything. I've arrived. It doesn't exist, right?
Right.
Yeah. For sure.
Exactly.
So I think there's something to that.
And one of the things, this would be I can talk probably about courage all day, but one thing also you note in the book, and I read, this is Osho's book on courage, and I just want to put this in the ears of our listeners and put this into our conversation as well. The greatest fear in the world is the opinion of others. And the moment you're unafraid of the crowd, you are no longer a sheep. You become a lion. A great roar rises in your heart, the roar of freedom. And that's like, we had another with Dr. Rob on a while ago, and he says, you show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And that this right here, the opinions of others, speaks right to it. Like, why is it important, Nic, to surround yourself with people, like-minded people, or people that are pushing you to be more courageous, or also even holding your hand in a moment that requires more courage? Like,
I love that. I'm when you said show me your friends and I'll show you your future. I haven't heard that variation, but I have heard show me your friends and I'll show you who you are, which is I think so. And it's said in many different ways. It's one of those pieces of wisdom that you hear when you're a kid that, like, it's just like you just kind of disregard it because you're like, oh, that's stupid mom talk, like birds of a feather flock together. But it's one of those ones that comes back and bites you in the ass if you don't listen to it, right? I've heard it said, you're the average of your 5 closest friends, or the 5 people you spend the most time with. There's many ways it's said. And I think like there's been studies that have shown that environment is more powerful than willpower, right? So if you take someone with a super strong will and put him in a room that's filled with donuts, eventually he's going to crash and have a donut. Or, like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe not the best example, but
crack pretty
it's
quick with donuts.
there's
When
some
it comes to donuts, I crack instantly.
right. Yeah, me
I
too.
have
Me
zero
too. That's what.
willpower.
But that's why I don't go. That's why I don't have them near me. Right. I don't put them in my environment because
Same.
as well. I just And I think it's one of the things I love about the United States, and in particular Los Angeles, where I live. I was thinking about this the other day. A friend said it to me once. Another friend from Cape Town, actually John, who moved here several years ago, and he said when he's here, he's forced to raise his game, right? Because in this environment, like America's where the best of the best comes. It's just like the drainage of all the world's greatest minds and the people who are most excited about life and doing the biggest things. Not necessarily all of them, but many of them come here because it's the beacon for that, right? America is the most progressive country in the world. I mean, it's a little bit fucked up in many ways. It's not perfect, but at the end of the day, like, this is the land of opportunity. This is the home of the brave. This is where like we're progressing. We're on the cutting edge, right? I've heard it said that souls that incarnate in America are incarnating for the most cutting edge experience because it is at the cutting edge. I don't know if that's true, but it's an interesting way to think about it. And what I notice is when I surround myself with these people who are all doing great things, like, I realize, man, if I want to continue to play this game, I gotta raise mine. If I want to stay around these people, like, I don't want to drag them down, like, I want to be on that level. So I think so. They're ultimately my environment. Like, your friends are your environment. So, and your environment is stronger than willpower. So if you put yourself in the right environment, it's going to, by its very nature, like, drag you up or pull you up to where you want to go. That's what I believe.
I love that, and it's tied to the chapter that you have on creating more than you consume. And I actually use something very similar to that in the keynote speeches that I do, and that is it's so important to create in order to develop discipline, in order to develop grit. I mean, because you're putting yourself out there to get mocked or to get critiqued, whatever. The other side is that it takes effort and discipline to create stuff. But in your chapter about creating more and consuming less, can you explain what it is you mean here exactly, and then why it is so important? And then if you could touch even more specifically on the importance of play, will on that, and why it is so important about that, I'd love to hear more.
Yeah. So, look, I believe that I think I mentioned this in the book, that we're reflections of the source, right? Like, humans and everything here is a reflection. It's the universal consciousness experiencing itself in physical form, right? And another word for the universal consciousness, or God, or whatever you want to call it, is the creator, right? Because it created all of this. And if it created us in its image, then we are, by very definition, creative beings as well. If we're a piece of him or it or whatever it is, we're also creative beings. So it is our imperative. It's our biological, spiritual, physical imperative to also be creating. And if people don't do that, I think they become very unhappy. I think we all have this impulse within us to create something, whatever it is, whether it's creating a family or building a building or creating a business or creating a picture or a painting or whatever it is, where that's our imperative. So it just makes sense to me. And I also notice I'm happiest when I'm creating. Like, there's an expression, man must build, or man is happiest when he's building something. Right. And I really believe that. And I've seen it in my own life. So the world trains us instead to consume, right? Instead of create, because we live in a capitalistic system, and which is great. I mean, I'm a big proponent of most elements of capitalism, but I think one of the negative elements is that there's this constant in your face, like, more, buy, consume, right? And I reference another book called Unscripted by MJ DeMarco. He says, if you really want to break free of the rat race and lead your best possible life, you've got to quit team consumer and join team producer or team creator. And I mean, I really think there's something to that. I'm sure you guys have examples from your own lives. Like, this show is one example of something 100%. That you've created, and it's fulfilling, right? It fulfills something within you.
Very.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's also another saying, Nick, is the antithesis of what you're saying about creation is the other one is idle hands are the devil's workshop. So if you're not creating, right? If you're not creating, then what are you doing, right? And that's when you typically become the consumer, because is there, one is a proactive approach to life, like I'm going to put my my foot into the world, or sometimes I really like to cook sometimes, and that's like a creative outlet for me. I'm constantly writing and teaching and expressing myself in that way, and it always leaves me with an incredible feeling of satisfaction. Like usually after we do a show like this, like I am usually lit up until the next day. Because
Same.
like we had, just to get in, talk about the creation, just to get to the show. Like I'm reading the book, I'm taking notes, like, I'm highlighting things. John and I are collaborating on the back end. I'm making posters, to make it, professional. And because like you said earlier, I want to put my best work out there. I want it to be right. I want it to be excellent. You talk about excellence in the book as well. And that's how I'm not just creating, right, but also polishing what I'm creating, refining, and sometimes early on, like when you're creating something that you've never really created before, it takes time and time and time again to begin to know yourself in that space. And I think this is one of the reasons why people give up so quickly to something that they want to create, because it takes a tremendous amount. Another nature quote, Emerson: adapt to the pace of nature. Her secret is patience. And it takes her secret is patience. Take a lot of patience in order to really create something that is going to, in our case, all three of us, add value to the world.
Patience. It's been a big theme for me. I was thinking about this a lot. I was at home in South Africa in December, and I watched. There was a little Instagram video, like a little story that popped up, it was a clip of this gentleman, and I forget his name. He's a Black American actor, an older gentleman, and he was accepting this award. It might have been a Golden Globe. I don't think it was an Oscar. I think it was a Golden Globe for lifetime achievement. And he was giving these 3 pieces of advice as he accepted the award. And he said,
I saw that.
You saw that slowly is the fastest way to get to where you want to be. Right. And this idea of, and I think, so are the SEALs, are they part of the Marines or part of the Navy, right?
We're part of the Navy. Yeah. And we actually have a saying that's really similar to that.
Slow is smooth and smooth
slow
is fast.
smooth is fast. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's it.
I say that to my martial arts students all the time. Like, don't rush. Just like, because this is actually funny enough. I put this on my Instagram recently, which is, I think you guys will appreciate this. Like, what is the root of impatience? Do you guys know the root of impatience?
That's a great question.
Fear.
I don't
Probably know. Fear.
Exactly. The root of impatience is the fear that you're not going to get what you want. Right? Think about that. That's the only reason anyone is ever impatient, is because they're worried that they're not going to get what they want. If you're patient, or if you don't have that fear, then you know that everything's just going to come to you. You know, it's coming. It's coming. I'm cool. I'll go at my pace. I'll go at the pace of nature, and eventually I'll get what I want. And that really changed everything for me when I understood that.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Why don't we, coming back to those the idle hands of the devil's workshop, I really appreciated that you brought up pornography in your book, because that can be a bit of a thing for a lot of men out there. So, talked about pornography and I really, and what, how it like really distorts our reality, our view of reality, as well as distorts our relationships. And how do we let go of pornography if we kind of have a obsession with it?
So I believe that everything that's all the good, true, pure things in life all have a shadow, right? They all have a counterpoint or a shadow. That I think creativity is a very good example. Like, if you're not being creative, it usually, as you said, it turns in on itself, and the devil finds hands for idle work, right? It like literally like metastasizes and becomes something really like negative. And I think that the healthy dynamic between the male and female on this planet, like, which is a loving relationship in which there's communication and there's chemistry and there's respect and there's boundaries, and the opposite of that, the shadow of that, is porn, right? Which is something that doesn't take any effort, that provides an instantaneous little hit of dopamine or whatever the neurotransmitter is that it secretes. And there's no cost to it. There's no investment. There's no risk. It's just, and I see this everywhere in life. There's this like spectrum, right? There's a spectrum where like those things that are good, those things that are pure and hard won and virtuous, they all have a cost, right? There's a cost of entry. There's a barrier. They're not just like, you know what I mean? You have to like work for them, or you have to like, they mean something.
Yeah.
And the other things on the other side, I think in the book, I use the example of like a meal, sitting down for a healthy meal that's been prepared with love by your mom or your family or your parents or yourself, and having communion, right? Like that is like a really healthy thing. And then like just like wolfing down a McDonald's burger you got at the drive-through, like while you're texting on your phone because you're rushing to a meeting, like that is the complete shadow of that. And I think I use that example in the book, like being intimate with someone, right, from that place of having a like presence and boundaries and honesty and courage and vulnerability is on one end of the spectrum, and on the other end, the shadow of that is just watching people fucking on YouPorn or whatever the thing is, and like jerking off and getting off on that. That's as far from those things are just like as far from each other as anything can be, right? And
Right.
Again, it just makes sense. Like I know that one on that one side of the spectrum gives me a much deeper sense of fulfillment. It's rewarding, and the other one just makes me feel empty, and I don't like feeling empty. So to me, it just makes sense to do the one instead of the other.
You feel empty. You feel a sense of guilt. If you're any type of legitimate human being, you feel a sense of guilt or shallowness there, whether after porn or whether it's after, like you mentioned, the McDonald's hamburger. But I love that, having a spectrum and having kind of shadow for everything that is good and virtuous, and what is that other. And I mean, you can think about everything that you do. If you are in fact doing something that makes you feel like shit afterwards, then what's the other side of that? And maybe that's what you should be doing in your life. Absolutely. So that you can reach that alignment. I mean, like the title of your book, or aligned, you can reach that. So I love that. And I want to talk about letting go. There's a big part of your book is all about letting go. And I talked about the scarcity mindset versus the abundance mindset earlier. And Will and I did an episode on that. And you tie the scarcity mindset to wanting to hold on to everything, right? Like whether that's a physical thing, whether it's an emotional thing, it's wanting to hold on to that. So first, my first question is, what led you to this truth with a capital T, as you kind of define in the book, the two different types of truth with a lowercase, truth with a capital T. And then second question is, how and of what do you recommend one let go?
Well, I just want to make it clear. This is something I haven't mastered yet. There's still things that I'm holding on to, right? Like really, like there are things I have let go, but there's still things that I'm holding on to. There's in life, life is inherently a paradox. The more I learn, the more I realize, like if you dive, or if you search and you go deep into anything, you find this inherent paradox always, right? It's strange. Whoever created this simulation is really smart, right? Because it's paradoxical, right? Like it, and
we're in the matrix.
The matrix, right? Like, now, one of the paradoxes is that, in the gym where I teach jiu-jitsu, in the bathroom, right above the toilet, there's this thing on the wall, this poster that says, the thing that messes us up most in life is the picture in our heads of the way it's supposed to be.
There you
right?
go.
Yeah. But here's the paradox, though. And this is where the point that I'm trying to make is that a well-lived life requires discernment. This was taught to me by my coach. Discernment is what allows you to navigate those paradoxes. On the other side of it, you're never going to reach your potential without planning and having goals and visions. It's just not going to happen. Right. So there's this inherent paradox, right? Which is, you've got to let go of those goals and visions, but you've also got to have them. Can you hear? You understand what I'm saying, right? And
with
that
you. Yep.
requires discernment. You have to know when it's time to let go and when it's time to plan. Or you know what I mean? Like it's a very subtle
Yep.
and nuanced thing that I'm still learning how to do. But I think that's, you asked me what's the thing that people should let go of is, I would say let go of the way you think it's supposed to be, but at the same time,
Yeah.
don't just not have any plans and not have any goals or visions and ambitions, and you have to be discerning to rationalize those two diametrically opposed things. They're a paradox, right?
Very much so. You've well, I'll tell you just from my own personal experience, what's happening with me right now is, John and I actually, and I want to talk about psychedelics with you for sure, and how they transformed you and what they've kind of shown you and taught you. But John and I had a psychedelic experience together in Costa Rica. We did psilocybin for a couple of days.
Nice.
And then also I took it upon myself. They offered integration practice afterwards, where we did 6 weeks. Every Monday we meet, plus we have practices every day during those 6 weeks, and really, which we're trying to live into our future self, right? And you talk about, letting go of expectations, but also enhancing and being very clear on the vision that you want. So I would sit in my meditations with the guided meditations, and I was like, I really, I live in New York City, and I just knew in my soul I need more space. Like I need a bigger apartment. And I kept seeing it. I keep seeing big spaces, but also lots of sunlight. And I would sit and I would meditate and I'd visualize, but also let it go. Like just trusting. I think a key part of letting go is trust that, you use the C word, the creator. There's a creator out there. There's some sort of universal intelligence that I have, that has been with me. I get felt it as soon as I go out of my comfort zone somehow, or like leap and net will appear. Like it just somehow the universe kind of scoops me up and then shows me, where to go. Right. And by letting go of those expectations and just trusting and trust, but practice, see, visualize. And then sure enough, next week, I am moving into the apartment that I literally visualized for those 6 weeks, and continually visualized. And I'm really excited to do that, but I didn't know where it was going to come from. I didn't know when. Actually, I kind of put a date on it with a friend of mine. I was like, March 15th, we're going to find it. And it was March 17th, a couple of days later. And this place, like talk about I'm going to put myself into a thriving environment, into an inspirational environment, into an environment that's well lit. That's something I'm going to love. I don't know how it's going to change me. I'm excited to see where we go, John, and where the show goes and where I go, because I'm putting myself into this position. But it took work. It takes time and practicing. Go ahead. Yeah.
Like, what I love that you've shared with me about this place is that you are putting yourself into a more difficult financial situation by taking on this larger place, but you know that,
Yep.
and by doing that, you're putting yourself out there, and that you're going to have to work harder. And I mean, this kind of goes against everything that we've been talking about, simplifying and letting go, Nick. But at the same time, it's also stretching. It's that paradox, right? You're stretching yourself, putting yourself out there, pushing past fear of that lack of having, so that you can in fact get that apartment, get that nicer place, something that's going to be better for you in the long run. I applaud you, brother, for doing that.
Me too. Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, thanks. And well, it's also, I'm not going to just acquire more stuff to fill. I want just literally open spaces. Like I'll have a couch, I'll have nice things, but I'm not going to acquire more things because I have more space. I'm going to make it, nice to have guests over and stuff, but I don't want more things. Like I want less. Actually,
no, you're doing it for the right reasons, man. You're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, and it's happening. I can't believe it. I move next week. But talk about, if you would, Nick, your psychedelic experience and your journey and what they've taught you and how they've helped you, because they definitely have helped John and I. And I've done ayahuasca as well, like 6 times now. I've done acid and I've done psilocybin and even in pathogens like MDMA. And there's really, I know it's not a psychedelic, but there's really something in this technology, and I think it'd be nice to hear from you about how they have changed you and helped you, and why you recommend
Yeah,
them.
I'll just say very briefly. I think actually MDMA, when done with the right set of circumstances, I've had a couple of psychedelic experiences on straight MDMA, like
go.
legit visions, and that is an
Yeah.
amazing compound.
I agree.
Yeah, I just love that stuff. I mean, it's one of those things you got to really respect it and reserve it for like ceremonies and sacred times. Like I believe that, otherwise it loses its specialness. But the psychedelics, why do I think they're so powerful? Look, we all have an ego, right? That ego is designed to, there's self and other, and that ego is the boundary between self and other. It's designed to protect us, right? That's what the ego does, right? I heard it said once that when hominids first started to emerge on this planet, they had no ego. There was no boundary between them and other, right? So they would walk up to the saber-toothed tiger and just get savaged because there was no like other me. I have to have this boundary, right? And the issue with the ego is that it also, when your ego is very strongly developed, that boundary can also stop you from connection, right? With everything, right? With the universe and others, and it can be a barrier to connection. And I think what psychedelics do is they break down the walls of the ego, because they're literally changing the neurological connections within your brain, right? They're like they're forcing the formation of new neurological connections. And so basically what psychedelics do is they cause you to get outside yourself. They cause you to like get over yourself, literally get over yourself, get over this thing you've created, this story of who you are and what you need to be doing and how it's supposed to be. And these regular thought patterns that we all have, like everyone has this, I'm sure you guys have experienced it. You think the same thoughts day after day after day. And then what I find with psychedelics is it's like, no, reset. Like you got to think a new thought, because there's a fucking gold dragon breathing fire on you in this weird dimension, whatever it might be, whatever it's, whatever psychedelics show you, like it's forcing you, it's an interrupt of the narrative of the story, or the well-worn neurological pathways that you used to treading down. And I think that's the most profound thing. And also I think when you do them properly, it's just a chance for you to experience the other side, like to connect with the source. And I've heard it said that ayahuasca is like having a telephone conversation with God, and it's true, man.
Yeah.
Like, the example I always use is Richard Dawkins, right? Richard Dawkins, the atheist, the renowned atheist. He is convinced that we live in a materialistic universe, and it's reductionist. There's nothing happens when you die. Nothing's connected. It's subject to the laws of Newtonian physics, and it is what it is, right? And the thing is, man, if you get me in a room with Richard Dawkins and the right brew of ayahuasca, I will make that guy see God.
Yeah.
Right? When I say I will facilitate him seeing God. Like if he drinks enough ayahuasca, that dude will realize, like, he'll go to the other side and he'll come back and be like, okay. Like I don't need a textbook to tell me there's a God. I don't need a rational argument. I know because I fucking saw it. You know what I mean? I went to the other side. And I think for me, that's, once you've had that experience, there's a very intelligent gentleman named, I think it's Gordon White. He speaks about becoming bulletproof, right? Once you've had that experience and you know that this is just a suit that you're wearing, this is just like a vehicle you're using to navigate, it facilitates courage, because you know that there's something beyond. You know that you will continue to exist in some form, right? Which is actually the ego's biggest fear, is it's like, I'm not going to continue to exist, right? Like, and when you know that you go see these worlds that are created out of pure energy, or like these different realms, or like you engage with these beings, or you see these things that are so far beyond this, you understand that there's more to this thing. There's more to you. There's more to life. And that is a very emboldening realization, in my opinion.
And peaceful.
Yes.
I think that's a peaceful realization, right? It helps us to really just settle our minds, knowing that there's something afterwards. I love it.
Yeah.
Will, I think you
Well,
had
it might
something.
not even be like, I mean, I'm not saying that you're gonna go to heaven or you're gonna reincarnate.
Yeah,
You might just dissolve. You might just dissolve into the infinite consciousness. But I mean, that doesn't really, to me, that's not even a bad thing, right? Like that would be
right.
kind of cool. But I just know that there is something else, right? Like I don't know what it is, but there is something else.
What are some of the things from your psychedelic experiences that have really changed you? You know, if you would, like, what are like, I was here before ayahuasca, I took ayahuasca, or maybe it's after the third time, and all of a sudden there's a massive shift in consciousness. Could you get personal about it and
Sure.
speak from those experiences? Would be great.
The one that comes to mind, Will, is I did ayahuasca in Peru, and that was a really powerful trip. That I spent 10 days in Peru, and I did. Yeah, it was intense, man. That was an intense one. But I remember this very clear message that it gave me, which is that the most important question I could ask is, how can I give my gifts back to the world? How can I give my gifts back to the world? And that was like, I remember like that. Yeah, you know that when something goes straight to your core, it's like, I was like, okay, right, like gives me goosebumps to think about it. And I think like, if that's one of those guiding questions that it'll never steer you wrong. It'll never ever steer you wrong. How can I give my gifts back to the world? And that has definitely been a big one. Will.
And well, it's like divine messaging, really, right? Go ahead, John. Sorry.
And talking about that gift, I mean, you mentioned the gift of this life in your section on gratitude, and kind of reframing everything that we do and everything that we see through this lens of gratitude. Can you talk about that what did you call it? Divine incarnation, I believe, something to that effect. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure, John. So I started going down this line of thinking because one of my jiu-jitsu students many years ago, interesting guy, Italian guy, we were having a discussion, and he was quite an out there dude. He had a spiritual practice, and we somehow just got speaking about, I can't remember what the exact topic was, but it was a topic pertaining to spirituality or metaphysics. And he said, in the Vedic scriptures, they believe in reincarnation, right? That's one of the foundations of that belief system. And they say that a human life is notoriously difficult to obtain. It's not just like a soul goes, hey, I want to be human, and then like, cool, you jump on the human ride. It's like you've got to go through a bunch of different progressions and earn the right to be human, earn the right to have a human life.
Right.
And I remember like when he told me that, like, I don't even know if that's true. I suspect it's true. I get the feeling that it's true. But when I think about it that way, that like, this is a gift, man. This is something that, don't take it for granted, right? Like it's a really special thing being human, right? And when you're grateful for that, I believe everything is energy. Everything is frequency and energy, right? Like the energy and frequency you are is what you get back, right? And gratitude is a very, very high level frequency. One of the best, I believe. One of the highest frequencies that a human being can access. It's just gratitude, being thankful for the gift of being human, being thankful for the fact that your heart is beating every day, being thankful for the fact that the sun is spitting out all this energy that gives life to plants and animals that we consume and then are allowed to move through the world and express ourselves. Being thankful for our challenges and our gifts and our victories. And man, what an amazing gift life is. Life is such a gift, right? And just an example I use in the book is if you gave someone a gift and they were like, don't really like this. It's like, this is wrong with it. It's like, this is a crappy present. Would you give them another gift? Because I sure as hell wouldn't. I'd be like, that dude is scratched off he's off my list, right? Whereas if you gave someone a gift and they were like, this is the most amazing thing. and they were truly appreciative of it, right? They were like, wow, this is amazing. Thank you so much. Like, you'd be likely to give them more gifts, right? And I believe that the universe, if we really appreciate this, we really appreciate life, it's going to give us more life. I think there's a Bible verse, which I'm probably taking a little bit out of context, but I think it's relevant, which is, I think Jesus is saying, I didn't come to take things away from you. I came to give you more life, or something like that. Again, I'm not very well, excuse the pun, very well versed on the Bible, but I remember there was something like that. I came to give you more life, right? Like when you're grateful to life, it gives you more life. You expand, right? Like it allows you to grow more. And again, life seems to work better when I'm more grateful. When I'm most angry or like disappointed or like frustrated about things and like wishing they were different, and when I'm least grateful, the game is least fun. When I'm most grateful, it's the most fun. So I'm just going to keep doing what works, right? Like it just makes sense to me. Yeah.
There's a great movie called Soul, and Will and I have it highlighted as a recommended movie, but it's a Pixar.
I haven't watched it yet.
Movie where
I'll watch it. Oh my God, you'll love it.
But there's an afterlife in the movie, but there's also a pre-life, and I think I forget what they call it in the movie, but it's basically where all the souls reside before they come to Earth. And and most of these souls are working to get to Earth, and there's one that is not. There's one that's actually pushing back against trying to get to Earth. It's a fantastic movie. It's a kid's movie, but there's a lot of really adult themes in it, and it ends finally with the soul giving thanks to the opportunity to come to the Earth. It's a fantastic one. Wow. What you just said reminded me of it. And it's a really great one.
Well, that's cool.
I know we don't have a whole lot of time left here on the show. Will, anything that you wanted to get to before we start to wrap it up?
Well, let me ask Nick. Nick, if you got another 10 minutes or so, it'd be great. If not,
I had time for you guys. No problem.
No, I appreciate it. Well, because what I would like, just to get deeper into the pragmatic aspects of being an awesome human being, being a better man. On our little questionnaire, you wrote okay, so why do you say that breathing and discipline are the twin bedrocks of mindfulness practices? Like breathing and discipline. Talk about that, please.
Sure.
Help us understand.
So look, any practice, the bedrock of any practice is discipline, right? Mindfulness being a practice. You got to do it repeatedly and consistently, right? Otherwise, it's not a practice. Otherwise, it's just a thing, right? Like you've got to have the discipline to commit to, consistent, regular, repeated practice. So without that, it's all pie in the sky, quite literally. Like just don't waste your time, right? And then the second thing is, so mindfulness, being aware of your thoughts and learning to control them or let them go or quiet them, whatever it might be. I believe it's been my experience that just sitting and meditating, like you can reach states of Zen and states of quiet mind, but I think it's very difficult. And it's been my experience, and I've only really started to understand this recently, that the quickest way to change your mind is to change the chemistry of your brain. And the quickest way to do that is to adopt specific breathing techniques. So, just like we did at the beginning of the show, taking those 5 double tap breaths, it changes our physiology, which changes the way we think, which then changes the way we move through the world. So now my morning practice is, before I even start meditating, I do several intense breathing practices, and that's what allows me to get to those higher states or those better mental states and be more mindful.
Yeah. And what, so you work, I love that you coach groups of men and men individually, and all the work you've been working with them, like what are, where do you commonly start with them? I know every man is different, but where do you, I imagine there must be, out of all the men you work with, there must be some sort of common place that you kind of step them into. Is it the breath? Is it something else? Or, so if I'm a man out there listening to this and I'm tired of the rat race, I'm tired of being a consumer, I'm tired of, absorbing all this porn, I'm tired of being scared and staying in, my comfortable climate controlled house. And I want to get out on the skinny branch and have a new experience and be a creator of my own life. Where do you start typically with men that have this desire in order to crack the shell that they've been living in?
What a phenomenal question. I think, it's different. It's different for everyone, but the commonality is clarity. They need clarity, right? And clarity, I've realized only comes from becoming quiet and becoming still. You cannot find clarity if your mind is racing and you like your environment is cluttered and things are going nuts, and you need 30 minutes at least. I mean, my morning routine now is 2 hours. It's 2 hours every day that I'm sitting and breathing and stretching and meditating and just like preparing myself for the day, right? Now, I'm not saying everyone can do 2 hours. I know it took an extraordinary amount of work to get to the point where I can have 2 hours a day to do that. Not everyone is as lucky as that at this point in their lives, but at least 30 minutes, man. 30 minutes to just slow everything down, switch everything off, center yourself, and get clear. And then you will start to hear, and you will start to instinctively also feel your higher self or God or whatever it is will start to show you where you're going wrong or where you need to change things or what you should start doing. So I think that's probably the starting point for most of the people I work with.
Yeah, gaining clarity, and that I guess so definitely breathing and meditative practices. But I know from my own experience and other people and men that I work with is sometimes getting back into your body. If you really have put on a lot of weight and you haven't been really using this incredible vehicle that we have that is where the rubber meets the road in this world, then it's tough to gain that clarity. So sometimes like taking a walk or getting to the gym or just doing very simple physical practices helps to because we're emotional beings at our core. And if we can let go of some of that stress and anxiety and then sit and breathe and meditate a little bit, you might help to receive more of that clarity. And then then in that clarity space that we talked about earlier, even just not even with the psychedelics, like there's some sort of connection to this divine, to the creator, but none of it is possible without, I guess, clearing a lot of that, the freaking mental static, the emotional static, like the
cobwebs.
Yeah, exactly. We got to dust ourselves off, and sometimes we've been really in like a very dusty fucking place for a long time. But this has been wonderful, Nic. Anything else before we close? I really appreciate your time today and all your wisdom. Thank you.
No, guys, I really appreciate you both. You asked such cool questions, and it's clear that you guys have you walk the walk. You don't just talk the talk, which is one of the highest compliments I can give you. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much for that, Nic. We appreciate that, and we appreciate your time. And for our listeners, you can find more from Nic at www.coachnicg.com. His podcast is the Nicholas Gregoriades Show. Geez, I'm getting really beaten up by your name, man. Gregoriades, being spelled Gregoriades. His show is a top 1% with 125 episodes so far, including guests such as Tim Ferriss, Dorian Yates, and Graham Hancock. His book, again, right here, is Aligned, The Modern Man's Guide to True Health, Wealth, and Fulfillment, and that's available in print copy on Kindle or Amazon, or for free at Nic's website, which again is coachnicg.com.
Nic with no K, just so you guys know. NICG, yeah.
And NIC, yeah, that's right. Yeah. NICG.com. So no K there in Nic. Yeah, Nic, I know we asked you this before, and there's absolutely no pressure. We wrap up the show with that closing practice. If you would like to lead it, we'd be honored. If not, I'll take it. So over to you.
Sure. Yeah, let's do a breathing technique that I've been playing around with, which is alternate nostril breathing. Are you guys familiar with it?
Yeah. Nadi Shodhana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the name, Nadi Shodhana?
That's the yogi. Yeah. Nadi is energy channels and Shodhana is switching. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what? Just before we go, I've actually had a question for my a question of my own regarding it. What is the hand position you use? Because I've been doing thumb and index finger to alternate.
Well, the way that I've been trained, there's a couple ways actually. So you can bring your index finger and middle finger to your third eye, and then close with your thumb and your pinky finger, right? Or I've seen it. Yeah. Also, I've seen that you can tuck those fingers in and then toggle between, the pinky finger and the thumb.
That one seems difficult.
Yes. Yeah. So I like the one actually
I,
leaning on my forehead, kind of gives me a little bit of an anchor, right? And then I
okay.
can slowly switch side to side. Yeah. Go
Well, I'll
for it,
tell you
Nick.
what. I'll tell you. No, I'll let you
Yeah.
take this one. It's clear you've got more experience with it. I'm still a beginner with this one, and
No, I'm
I
with
don't
you.
want
I'm with you.
to.
Okay, great. No,
I don't want to
not
be
at all.
right.
Not at
I
all.
just want to
Like
get it right.
Yeah, well, I'll teach you the right way, okay? And this is a
Yeah, let's
great
see.
technique for everybody because it helps to create a better communication between the left and right side of the brain. So in order to do that and kind of access the breath, helping to shift our energy and helping us to wake, like literally our sinus cavities, to wake up the brain a little bit more, we're going to be switching between the right and the left nostril. So, like I was saying earlier, bring your index finger, middle finger to your third eye. So that's the space just above your eyebrows, between your eyebrows and just above. And we're going to toggle back and forth, right? We're actually going to start with, we're going to exhale out both nostrils first, and then we're going to close the right nostril, inhale left for 5 seconds. We're going to hold at the top for just a couple seconds, and then open up the opposite nostril, like switching nostrils, alternate nostril, and then exhale out, and then we'll inhale through that same nostril, and we'll go back and forth. We'll do this 5 times. Okay, so sitting up nice and tall, right? But keep the chest open. This is going to help lift up your chest, which will help your lungs be more available for breath. But let's exhale out both nostrils, making that contact of your index and middle finger on your third eye. Good. And let's close the left nostril. Inhale through the close the right nostril. Inhale through the left nostril. Inhale 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then hold it closed. So pinch for a second. And then open up the right and exhale out the right. Completely empty. Feel that diaphragm push up below the rib cage. And here we go. Inhaling through the right. Hold. Open left. Exhale out. And let's keep going. Inhale left for 5. Hold. Open the right. Exhale out completely. Keep going. In through the right. Hold. Pinch it closed. 2, 1. Open left. Exhale. Empty, empty, empty. And keep going. In through the left for 5. Hold it. Open up the right. Exhale. In right. Pinch, hold. Open left. Exhale. And let's just do the last 2 on our own. In. In right. Big balloon breath. Hold that balloon. Exhale out left. Last round. In left. Hold. Open right. Exhale. And last time through the right. Hold. Open left. Exhale. And then hands can release down. And then open up both nostrils. Take a few breaths. And always just kind of checking in after breathing technique. Just feel how you're feeling. Whatever that is, no judgment. Just be with what is. And that's a great technique, that alternate nostril breathing, Nadi Shodhana. Great way if you're kind of plug in the middle of your day, if you're just feeling ungrounded, overwhelmed, or just need more creative clarity. This will help you to get there. Open those eyes when you're ready, everybody. And Nic, such an honor and privilege to talk to you. And again, I read every single word in this book, and it is making me a better person. And I can't wait to share. I really want to share this with some people in my life that I deeply care about, that definitely stuck in the confines of scarcity. So
Bless you guys. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you, Will and John.
Thank you so much,
thank you,
Nic. And just so you know, we had a fellow South African viewing from South Africa on YouTube.
That's
so
cool.
Michelle, great to see you on here. Thanks for joining us.
That's
and
awesome,
as
guys.
always, a pleasure. And
Okay, guys, you take care.
All right, take care.
Thank you, Nic. Be well, brother.
Okay. Cool.
Oh man, I didn't have my thing pulled up yet to do the using. There it is. There it is.
All right.
All right.
I got next year.
Thanks for joining Will and John on Men Talking Mindfulness. If you enjoyed the show, please like and share it with your friends and family, and please, we would appreciate a review too. Until next time, this has been Men Talking Mindfulness. Thanks for showing up.